Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Fierce Friday, all about Elevate to Hydrate and healthy hydration. And we're so excited to share more with you. My name is Naiva Flori, and I have the honor to be here with my incredible council members. I have Taz Ferreira, Carmela Velarde, as well as Michelle Ricci. And together, we come together every week to present on topics that are of the essence. We always want to share pertinent information that you can use in your day-to-day life, as well as things you can share in your community. So we want to thank you today for joining us and always invite you back each Friday. And this is a community call for our incredible company, Purium. And together we can make great change. So we invite you to always come back and invite your community to join us here on this community call to learn and grow together. And today we're going to go into healthy hydration. But before we do that, I want to pass that over to Taz, who's going to share about some of the things that are in the news right now that are alarming to us and really pertinent information. So Taz, passing it over to you.
Thank you so much, Naiva. So dehydration, this is a huge thing that's happening in the world. And I mean, I'm saying it like it's happening in the world. It happens every day. If we are dehydrated, what happens? We won't live, right? But what does it really mean? So, and what do we look for? So I'm going to share my screen. All right. I think it's this one. Yes, here we go. Okay, so water and the benefits of drinking water. But let's look at how do we know if we're dehydrated? Okay, first, you're thirsty. Okay, so when the body is thirsty, it sends signals that your body needs more fuel. And the first signs of dehydrations are what? What do you think the first signs are? Headaches, a dry mouth, the desire to drink something, and it's usually water. How about dry skin or dry mucous membranes, right? Whenever you have a cracked lips, a sticky mouth, or itchy skin, you know what? That's all dehydration. And I know all of us here, we love talking about our bowels, right? We talk about it all the time. But how about looking at our urine? Do you know how important it is to look at how our kidneys are filtering? Well, take a look at your urine. Is it dark? What color is it? What's coming out of it? How does it smell, right? These are things that we need to look at as well. And this will show if we're dehydrated. How about being fatigued and dehydrated? You know what? When I was exhausted and feeling fatigued, I used to go for coffee, and coffee dehydrates you. So how about going for water instead? Dizziness, lightheadedness, this is all reasons why you need to be drinking water. Headaches. So when I used to have a lot of coffee, I had so much headaches and I never correlated it. Maybe my body was so dehydrated and the caffeine was stripping all the minerals away from me, right? But these are things that the signals where if you're not in touch with it, you don't understand that your body is very dehydrated. And all you need are minerals and water, brain function, brain fog. How about muscle cramping? I mean, there's so many things that can happen when you're dehydrated. So there's something in the news that I wanted to talk about. Let's just look at this clip for like, what do you think they're rushing for? What do you guys think? Is this Black Friday sales? Nope. This is for the sports drink called Prime. Okay, isn't that insane? This is what's happening in the news all over the world. Parents are losing their mind over the sports drink Prime. So this has been developed by some YouTuber. I don't know who he is, but our kids have become brainwashed. I've seen this everywhere on the playground, the sports field, bar mitzvahs, everywhere, celebrations, all the kids has them. Okay, so there's two types of Prime. You have the Prime Hydration, this one, and then you have Prime. Okay, these are the YouTubers. So I want to get all you parents familiarizing with what Prime is. And then you have Prime Energy. So this is the other one. So one has caffeine and one does not. And there's a reason why I wanted to bring this up. So my son is in soccer. He's 9 years old. And the other day, one of the kids, or many of the kids, but this one certain child brought Prime to the field and started drinking it. Of course, no one says anything. This is a normal thing because everyone would bring Gatorade all the time. And then all of a sudden, he started sweating. He started having palpitations. He couldn't breathe. The coach took the prime drink and threw it out, and we had to get him off the field. This was so dangerous. This was the first time that the other kids were like, well, maybe prime is not such a great idea. Maybe we should start evaluating what's inside. Okay, so remember I spoke about there's two types of prime, the caffeine and the non-caffeine. So the caffeine version is marketed to teens and children. So look for both. And then you think to yourself, okay, there's the hydration one that has coconut water. So this one should be better, right? Well, not exactly. Let me dissect it for you. So this is the prime hydration without caffeine. This is what the bottle looks like. And this is equally as bad. Okay, sure, this one does not have caffeine, but what does it have? Let's look at the ingredients together. Filtered water, coconut water, it's less than 10% coconut water, and it's from concentrate, citric acid, dipotassium phosphate. What is that? Well, you know what it is? It's a filler. Okay, you would read this and you're like, potassium. Oh, that's great. That's probably, the electrolytes that my kids need. What do we need when we're dehydrated? Sodium, potassium. No, this one is a filler. Magnesium citrate, natural flavorings. What do we know of natural flavorings? They're not good for us. And this is clearly not organic, so it's full of chemicals. Sucralose, what does sucralose do? It damages the gut lining. So all of these ingredients is going to cause your kid to be more dehydrated, artificial ingredients, and ruin their gut microbiome. But not only that, their mental cognitive abilities as well. So let's be educated and say no to prime drinks. And if there's some parents and some kids who are using it, maybe share this video with them, share these articles with them, and let them know our kids should not be having this. Maybe go to have coconut water or our cocoa hydrate. We have so many things available at our fingertips. Okay, back to you, Naiva.
Thank you so much for that, Taz. Such important information. And every week we bring you something that's in the news that is something that we feel like all moms should know, right? We share what we know and we educate each other through this platform. So I'm just so grateful that we have such incredible community to bring these things to the forefront so that way we can make sure and be bringing pertinent information every single week. So hydration is a huge issue. Most of us probably don't drink enough water on a daily basis. But something that I love is that you can actually get a lot of hydration from eating fruit, especially those juicy fruits like watermelon and grapes and all of those fruits, because they really contain a ton of hydration. So even if you're not drinking a ton of water, you can always eat lots of fruit throughout the day. And something that I like to do is add things to my water that help me to drink it. So I'll add cucumbers to the water, or maybe some peppermint leaves or some fruit. Water with fruit in it is really delicious and makes it just something that you want to drink. Like you actually crave it. It's really refreshing and yummy. And so that's something that I like to do. I like to keep a pitcher of water in my fridge with some fruit or some peppermint leaves in it or whatever herbs of your choice. And it really does make it more appealing. So that's something that I really love. And something that is also in the news is that in the New York Times, they reported that a study that shows that 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. I have a friend that at one point was trying to hydrate so much with water that she depleted her minerals. She actually washed the minerals out of her body and fainted. So we also want to be careful with our hydration and make sure that we're including extra minerals like our ionic elements into the water or into our smoothies or into the various parts of our day, because it's so important to make sure that we're getting the proper hydration on a daily basis and replenishing our minerals so that we don't just wash all the minerals out of our system and end up actually causing more harm than good. So I think that's something really important to keep in mind. And dehydration occurs when you lose more fluid than you take in. So it's important that you're constantly rehydrating. And a good sign is that you're going pee every 2 hours. So that way you basically know that you're staying hydrated enough. If you are somebody that only goes to the bathroom a couple or a few times a day, then you really need to think about hydrating yourself better so that way you're not dehydrated. And We have so much to share on this topic, and I'd love to share more, but we also have some really incredible guests. So I'd love to have them share a little bit on this topic as well, and come back to this conversation as well after they share some of their top tips, because these ladies are really incredible, both health coaches and really knowledgeable in their field. And so I'd love to hear from Sherry Packard first. She's a holistic nutrition and health coach, and she also has two boys that are in sports. So you might recognize her from prior calls. She comes on very often and shares with us her journey. And I love to actually repost her through our social media, because she's always sharing such great information about how she stays hydrated and how she keeps her kids hydrated. So Sherry, please come on and share your tips and tricks with us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here again. I love these calls so much. So I definitely agree that about 75% of the population is dehydrated on a daily basis, because in my practice, I definitely see that. So many people think that they're hydrating accordingly and they're getting their water in, but in fact, most are dehydrated. And, you know, I've come to understand, I think it has more to do, because like when I was in school to be a holistic nutrition and health coach, they teach you that the equation, you know, how much water per body weight, and that's kind of how you're supposed to gauge how much water you drink. But they don't talk to us about the quality of water, right? So that's going to make a huge difference right there. Like, what are you hydrating with? So is it filtered water? And then is it not just water? Because if we're just, you know, gulping down the water all day long, we're actually stressing our kidneys, right? As you were saying. So we want to look for filtered water, but we also want to get our water from other sources, like the fresh fruit. Coconut water is such a great one. My younger son has been drinking coconut water since he's like a year old. And to this day, he always has a container of coconut water with him everywhere he goes. Like he doesn't go anywhere without some. But also when we're talking about filtered water, we want to make sure that we're adding in our minerals. It's so important. Electrolytes, right? Because that's how we're getting good quality water, because our bodies do need more than water, just the H2O. They need the minerals that come along with it. And of course, the quality of those minerals is going to be super important. And I found that in my own personal life with my kids, having two boys who are such intensive athletes. It's, you know, hydration is my top priority with them, regardless of the season, you know. So we often also, people tend to pay more attention to hydration in the summer because it's hotter, we're sweating more. And that's a good thing that we pay a lot of attention to hydration when it's hotter out, but it's not the only time that we need more hydration. We need hydration throughout the year, regardless, right? So whether my kids are on the ice for hockey or on the field for soccer, I'm really paying attention to their hydration. And that doesn't start once they're on the field or once they're on the ice. I'm paying attention to it throughout the day, because I don't want them to start their activity on a deficit already. If they're already dehydrated before they're starting their sport, then they could throw, you know, a whole water bottle into their systems within the hour. It's not going to make that much of a difference. And for that hour of their activity, their body is going to be stressed, right? Because they're already starting off dehydrated, and then they're just losing more electrolytes throughout that hour. So hydration really starts from the morning of that day, if not the day before even. So, you know, I'm making sure that they're staying hydrated, again, with filtered water. I love filling a huge pitcher in the morning of apothecary with cocoa hydrate and mix it together. And then we just keep going back to it all day long. So that's a way that, you know, keeps us, first of all, it reminds us that we have to do it. I find the blender bottles helps my kids a whole lot because they love doing it. So that's kind of an extra motivator. You know, they can do it themselves. They can put it together in the morning and keep drinking from it all day long. But it's very important that I add the ionic elements to that as well. What else was there? And I put a little bit, I can't beat this, in my older son's water bottle for his sports too, which just really helps get the oxygen in there. And it's just a great all around balance for the body, right? There's one thing that I really wanted to mention is that, so with my older son having type 1 diabetes, it's added a whole other level to his hydration, because I've come to understand that there's a link between his type 1 diabetes and his pancreas and electrolytes. So it's even more important. You know, there's the level of him being an athlete, but then there's that second level of him also having type 1 diabetes that makes it that he really needs to replenish his electrolytes so much more often. And that's because when your glucose levels are high, when your glucose levels are higher, it pulls the water out of the cells. So for him, it's that much more important that I stay on his hydration. And so I've just recently added super lights as well for his hydration. So I feel like with the ionic elements, he's getting his Celtic salts along with all of the other trace minerals. And then we add in the super lights, which gives him the Himalayan salt as well. So I feel like that way I'm really confident that I'm keeping his body as hydrated as needed, really.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing all of those great tips. And you're really hands-on with making sure your kids are hydrated and also sharing those tips and tricks with others. I love following your journey and getting to see you just sharing this education with others that may not know, what's going on or how they can stay hydrated properly. And so I love that you just share really authentically through your social media about how, you help your kids always stay hydrated. And that's just so wonderful to see more moms educating others, because like I said earlier, we share what we know and we encourage others to learn from us and from what we've already learned on ourselves. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to go over to Jessica, who is also a certified health coach, and she really specializes in gut health, but she does also work with people all the time. And since hydration is such a huge issue in our country and probably around the world, I'd love to hear from you, Jessica, what some of your tips are as far as staying hydrated, if you would like to share on this topic as well.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me okay? I'm in the car.
Can hear you.
Awesome. Hydration is huge. Everything that Taz and Sherry mentioned, I can piggyback on all of that and be repetitive, but I won't. It really does. I've experienced all of those things: fatigue, lack of energy, my cognition not being wonderful. I guess some would call it motivation, just that feeling like yourself just from dehydration. And one of the biggest things, minerals for hydration have everything to do with the conductivity of our body, of our enzymes, of our digestion. So it completely makes sense what Sherry just mentioned about her son and his organs functioning at their optimum, performance, and not being able to do that if he doesn't have proper minerals. Which brings us to my favorite thing to talk about, gut health. If our gut is not balanced, we are not optimizing and we are not assimilating the nutrients that we are digesting. So everything really comes back to gut health. We all know that. And my tips for hydration, because a lot of the times with clients when I'm doing consultations and I'm asking them, well, how much water do you drink? And I drink a ton of water. They say, I drink a ton of water. Well, how much is a ton of water? And they don't know. Well, I don't know. I have a glass in the morning. I have a few bottles at work. I, have some with dinner. And well, do you finish the glass in the morning? Well, I don't know. Sometimes I leave it on the counter, or I don't know, I have 5 bottles of half drinking water laying around and I'm not really sure of how many ounces I drank. And it's always a good goal to aim for half your body weight in ounces. And a lot of people like to shoot for a gallon a day, because if you get halfway there, 3/4 of the way there, you've likely consumed a lot more water than you're used to. And people complain about having to use the bathroom too much when they drink a lot of water. And that is only in the beginning. And that is because your body is doing what it's supposed to do and your cells are detoxifying themselves. So if you experience that when you go on a water journey, be excited for it to subside and be excited for your body to be able to finally start absorbing all that hydration instead of using it to flush things out of your system that it doesn't need. And all the things, adding the cocoa hydrate, the can't beat this, the ionic elements, 75 trace minerals, I think, and magnesium is the most abundant mineral in that product that we've got at Purium. And that's the most important mineral in the body. It has a lot to do with heart health, things like that. And flavored water, like you mentioned, Naiva, the cucumber water. I say this all the time. If we always say you are what you eat, if that were true, I would be a cantaloupe. All I eat is cantaloupe and watermelon as my snacks all day long. And I don't feel thirsty and I don't feel like I need to drink that whole gallon of water. So for people that are just like, oh, I don't like water, then try eating some fruit. try eating some fruit, try sneaking it in if you have to make a fruit salad for your kids, if your kids don't love water. Just be really careful with adding things to the water without sending the labels to one of your favorite health coaches or one of your favorite Million Mom member movement people here, because there's so many hidden things. I used to love vitamin water, loved it. They don't use dyes, I don't think. They market that they don't use dyes, but they use a bunch of other chemicals in there. And Bai makes the antioxidant waters. And like we're talking about the prime drinks, if it's marketed the way that those drinks are all marketed, then that's your first red flag. Because pretty much anything with a commercial these days is something that you want to kind of dig a little bit deeper and learn more about the ingredients, the sourcing, what it does inside the body. And don't wait until a problem to take seriously. It takes 10 times longer to get to the end goal, and we jump right back on that roller coaster of self-sabotage. I think that's it. I just think it's always be drinking water. And my biggest tip for those that are not sure how much water they drink, that need to start drinking more water, first and foremost, my favorite thing to do is have one designated cup that I drink my water from every day, whether it's my Yeti cup or it's my gallon jug or whatever your favorite thing is. Go out and get one, find a really cute one. Some of them have the timestamps on them that remind you should have this much water by this time of the day, and only drink out of that one container, and you'll be able to keep track more, and you'll be surprised. You'll realize that you don't drink as much as you think. I find drinking it from a straw is easier. I find that when I have something I have to open, I don't tend to like grab it and drink it as often as if I have just something with a straw in it that I can easily grab. And plastic. We want to avoid plastic water bottles. Somebody offered me a plastic water bottle the other day, and it tasted weird. As soon as I drank it, it almost made me more thirsty, and my mouth felt really dry. And I don't drink plastic bottled water very often. And I looked at the label, and it said purified, water with added minerals for taste. And this water actually had an ingredient label on it. And off the top of my head, I want to say there was like dyed potassium phosphate or something like that. It added for flavor. So we're now adding man-made synthetic ingredients to bottled water for flavor, when we all know that water isn't really supposed to taste like anything except water. And there's plenty of things out there that are decent enough at your grocery store: fruits, vegetables, cucumbers, limes, and Purium products to put in your water. So we don't need water with man-made ingredients. Our body's not meant to thrive on those things. And with that, I think I am complete.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I love that you brought the topic of the water bottles. First of all, there's single-use plastic, which we try to avoid. And there is often many ingredients added to the water, which means it's not pure water. And so if you are able to go to a spring near you, I think it's called springs.com or something of the like, if somebody knows the exact site, you can usually find a spring in your area, and you can get real water that comes right from the ground. And I always suggest using glass jars, filling up your own water and stocking up on it so you have enough water in your home that's good and it's already naturally mineralized from the earth, nothing added, and you can just trust that source because it's coming straight from Mother Nature. So that's my favorite source of water if you can get it. Otherwise, getting filtered water is always ideal. And often we're relying on the thirst factor, on feeling thirsty. And often by the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So don't wait to feel thirsty. Just drink water throughout the day or eat those hydrating fruits like Jessica mentioned, so that way you can stay hydrated always. And I love that also Sherry shared that she doesn't just hydrate her kids during sports or right before sports. She's working on that all the time, consistently, on the day before the sports and hours before the sports and even after the sports, that they always have these things at their fingertips. And so I love the tips that was given today, you know, keeping 1 cup or 1 hydro flask that you have your water in with a straw and being able to drink from that at any time of the day really easily. Make sure you're always taking that with you. And it also gives you a great measurement. So that way you actually know that you finished 1 hydro flask or 1 glass of water today, or by a certain time in the day. So you can set yourself goals of like, by 10 a.m., I'm going to finish my 1st or 2nd glass of water, and just go throughout the day like that. And I love that with Purium, we have so many tools in addition to just adding herbs or fruits to your water to make it taste better, some lime or lemon to help alkalize your water. You can also just add some of our Purium products. I honestly love the Can't Beat This. I have to pace myself so I don't drink it like 2 to 3 times a day because it tastes so good that I'll drink my water when I put Can't Beat This in it. I'll drink the water when I put Cocoa Hydrate in it. And I always add in the ionic elements. I personally like to have the ionic elements with my tart cherry juice, and it actually helps to enhance your sleep cycle as well. So all of those minerals are helping you to get all the things that you need to not only stay hydrated, but also to get that deeper restful sleep, to reduce muscle cramping, to reduce some of the issues that come with being dehydrated. And so it's really important to increase the water intake during hot weather, or especially when you're ill. A lot of times if we're sick, then we might not feel thirsty or not feel like drinking something, but that's when it's especially important for us to stay hydrated, to make sure that we have a glass of water by our bedside or with us, and that we're keeping that water or that cocoa hydrate going into our body. And then we also have our mineral complex with the superlights. And the superlights are really incredible because they help you stay hydrated. They were specifically created for hot yoga practitioners to take before or after hot yoga to make sure and replenish their minerals from sweating. And so it's really important that if you're sweating a lot and doing heavy workouts, that you take those superlights to rehydrate your cells and replenish those minerals as well. And so I know that the superlights has Himalayan salt, which has over 75 minerals, which is an incredible complex. But something else that's really beneficial is Celtic salt. Celtic salt has 82 minerals, and just taking a little bit of this on your tongue or adding it into your water can really be a great way to remineralize as well. Celtic salt actually has magnesium chloride, magnesium bromide, and magnesium sulfite, which all really help to remineralize your body and really help you feel hydrated. So that's really important to keep in mind and to continue hydrating yourself. And some of the signs. So I want to talk about some of the signs and symptoms of dehydration and how you might be able to see it in small children. So in small children, they might have a dry mouth or dry tongue. No tears when they're crying means that they might be dehydrated. Also, no wet diapers for more than 3 hours. You want to make sure that they're wetting a diaper every couple hours. Otherwise, they need to be hydrating more. Also, sunken eyes or cheeks can be a sign of dehydration. Sunken soft spot on their skull, especially for babies that are under 2 that still have the soft spot on the top of their head. If it's sunken in, they're most likely dehydrated and you need to help them hydrate more. And so there's lots of ways that we can that are telltale signs that we're dehydrated. So in adults, signs are extreme thirst. If you're extremely thirsty, then you are very dehydrated. So don't wait for to feel thirsty to hydrate. Also, less frequent urination. We mentioned this at the beginning. If you're not urinating every 2 hours, then likely you're dehydrated. Also, dark colored urine. If it's very dark yellow or if it smells really strong, usually that means that you need to hydrate more. And then fatigue, dizziness, or confusion. These are often signs of dehydration. So if you are ever experiencing any of this, or you know somebody that's experiencing this, it's important for you to rehydrate, and adding in those extra minerals or the cocoa hydrate or some of these things that just help to replenish your body can be really beneficial. Also, if somebody has diarrhea for 24 hours or more, this can often also be a sign of dehydration. And so you want to make sure and stay hydrated, especially when you're having those symptoms, because that is pushing a ton of fluid out of your body and demineralizing your gut, which, like Jessica shared, it's really important, and everything starts with our gut health. So we want to make sure and stay hydrated so that way our overall systems can be working better. So those are just some of the tips, and then adding in some electrolytes. So I wanted to actually share my page with you. Let me open this up. And let me see here. Share a little bit with you about our ionic elements and how incredible they are in the composition of what is in them. Because I know that often we think of these minerals and we're like, well, what is it? What is actually in there? And the ionic elements has an incredible list of all of these minerals. Look how many minerals are in our ionic elements. You have all of this in one little dropper that you can put into your water or into your shake. I often will also add it into like my power shake. When I first started with Purium over 8 years ago, we literally didn't know what to do with this. And we tried dropping it into our mouth. And I don't suggest taking it that way because it's not the most pleasant way to try ionic elements. But over time, we learned to just add it into our green shake or add it into the cocoa hydrate or the can't beat this, or just into your water. It really doesn't change the flavor that much, but it does remineralize your water or whatever you're drinking to hydrate. So I wanted to share this with you all. And of course, we'll be sharing these links when we post the replay into our Million Mom Movement official. We'll be sharing these links so you'll have access to this document as well. So I'd like to open it up to some of my council members and see if you would like to share anything about this topic as well. And if we have time, we'll open it up for Q&A, but I'd love to give my council members an opportunity to share about their tips and tricks for hydration.
Okay, I'll jump in. I'm kind of off the cuff. I think when new people start our organic superfood lifestyle, usually they might start out with a core 4 or usually the ULT. I think the reason why so many people do so well is because of the uptake of whole fruits and vegetables. But then it's really, when you think about it, the connectivity that's from the minerals from our superfoods. And when we're brand partners, if you're a brand partner here, and we're here to educate really how people are going to make a shift, accelerated shift at that. If you're going to do through the whole foods, it's one thing. But if you do it through superfoods and through our farms, we're giving people access to the most bioavailable plants and vegetables from farms in the world. And when you have such really stringent manufacturing principles like regenerative farming, biodiversity, biodynamic farming, the microbes and the minerals are what really matters. That is the essential shift that makes that acceleration happen. And so as a coach, if you want to support people really in seeing what's so different and what's so unique is that when you get more fruits and vegetables through Whole Foods because the program really outlines it to be so, but then you add in the superfoods from our regenerative farming practices, your body conducts in a way where your hormones can actually get back into place. They lock into this cycle that you never really ever felt before. Because I came in having terrible hormonal health. I always had PMS every single month and it was raging hormonal shifts. And I could never balance it. The heat in my body, I mean, I felt like I was having menopause every month and I was young and I wanted it to stop. That's why I started this program after I had my 2 children. And it completely reversed. And I was so shocked. And I was really like interested into what is the reason for this. And when I first started, they always had an ionic element in the program. They took it out, but it's definitely recommended. If you have any hormonal issues, increase ionic elements. Super lights are incredible for if you do hot yoga, hot Pilates, people love the hot nowadays infrared saunas. You really do need additional support. When people don't get the additional support, you're really dehydrating yourself. So this is just my personal experience with mineralization and coaching people through hormonal health with increasing their minerals. Pass the word.
Thank you so much, Carmela.
Yeah, I can jump in and talk a little bit about Okay, so what's important with the electrolytes, the sodium and the potassium, they need to be in balance. Okay, these are pumps in your body. So when you go to the store and you buy one of these like Gatorade or all of these sports drinks, and you see how they add things in, so this is artificially added. Okay, this is added from the labs. So you don't know the sourcing. It probably won't be absorbed into your body. It most probably is going to cause gut issues, but they pry on that because you don't know better. You think your body's looking for these electrolytes. But in our superfoods, in our ionic elements, we have everything all in one. It's all there because the body is in balance and it needs to have everything. It needs to have the right amount of the sodium and the right amount of your potassium because all of this works on your nerve signaling, right? Your cognitive ability. So if the synapses are not getting the right messages, then everything is not going to work. You're going to feel drowsy. You're going to get diarrhea. You're going to get a lot of issues. So it's really important to look at if you get too much potassium, if you get too little, if you get too much sodium can cause everything from irregular heartbeats to high blood pressure, and this can start taxing your kidneys and other things in your body, right? So this is why we always suggest that people get it through food, through proper sourcing, always look for organic ingredients, and this is how the body naturally balances out. Back to you, Naiva.
Thank you, Taz. Michelle, do you have anything you'd like to share on this topic as well?
Here. Thanks. There we go. I'm on 2 devices. My apologies. Excellent call. Thanks. And I love what you brought up, both Carmela and Taz, about, you know, our cells are looking to be nourished and hydrated. And, you know, water alone isn't going to do that, especially if we're not absorbing and assimilating our nutrients from the food. So when we add in all of these additives, we're actually putting stress on the kidneys and putting stress on the liver to try and work through these extra toxins and fillers. So instead of our kidneys being able to release and filter, you know, and get that ash out of our system and the mucoid plaque, we're not able to do that because our cells are so busy trying to absorb toxins to keep out of our bloodstream and keep ourselves healthy that they can't actually function the way that they want to. So I think it's very important to, you know, I really like this idea of adding something into the water. I always have a little splash of something in there, ionic element, a little scoop of Aloe Digest, something to help, because those nutrients are going to go into the cells. They are informing the cells and they are hydrating and nourishing the cells. So we're actually able to hydrate better when it has these super clean foods and no barriers for absorption of nutrients and hydration. So, and then of course the fruits are so important because that is the energy for the cells. That is cellular hydration. That is the way that we can really do that. So it's extremely important. And yeah, every day, that's how I start my day. And even in the middle of the day, I'm going for a very rich, hydrating, almost everything in juice bar in a bag, along with the ionic elements, to give myself that boost right before my first meal. So it's super important to me. That whole first part of the day, I am deeply, deeply hydrating. My shake, my fruits, and then another kick for my adrenals and for my kidneys before I actually start digesting whole foods in a bigger kind of a meal. So yeah, great call, everyone.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I love all the tips that you ladies shared. I really appreciate everything that you bring to the council and just your knowledge and expertise on this subject and just sharing, you know, from your own knowledge and what you do for yourself. And so some of the things is that when we are drinking things like juice or sodas, if people are drinking sodas or things that are high sugar content, then those are actually dehydrating you. And we might not realize that, but a lot of people in our country, that's what they drink. When they drink, they don't turn to water. They don't turn to superfoods. They actually turn to juices or sugary drinks or energy drinks or Gatorades and things like that, which have so many questionable ingredients in it. It's not actually healthy for you, and it's not actually replenishing your cells of minerals or helping you stay hydrated in the long run. So it's a misconception that you can drink these things and get hydrated. And often people think, well, I drank things today. I drank juice and I drank a soda and I drank an energy drink or a Gatorade. And those things actually continue to deplenish your body from its minerals and from your hydration. So it's not rehydrating you, which is why we have such a huge issue in our country of dehydration. And so if you want to live longer, then ditch those juices or sodas or energy drinks and really rehydrate with minerals, adding minerals to your water, adding superfoods to your water, and really putting that moisture back into your skin and back into your body. And then also, I know it's summertime. We might be going to some barbecues. Some of us might enjoy having a drink or two of alcoholic beverages. And if you do, alcohol also dehydrates you. So it's important to keep in mind that when you drink alcohol, you need to also be hydrating yourself. So for every drink that you have, also have your hydrating drink with some minerals in it. So that way the next day you don't have a heavy hangover. You don't wake up feeling that hangover feeling of not feeling well or feeling nauseous. Most of it comes from feeling dehydrated, and we don't really always associate that together, but it's important to take note of what causes dehydration in our daily life. The other thing that also causes a ton of dehydration is coffee. Some of us enjoy coffee, having a coffee in the morning, or, hopefully not all day long, but coffee is a main part of most people's daily life in our country. And so it's important to take note that the coffee is depleting your minerals and it's dehydrating you, and it's causing a lot of issues on your organs and making it harder for us to stay hydrated. So it's really important to rehydrate when you drink coffee the same way. If you're going to have coffee, then also have your hydrating drink before and after that coffee as well. Have a cup of water first thing in the morning before you have your coffee to really just replenish your cells, give your cells something, beautiful to wake up to before you start putting that dehydrating liquid into your body. So that way you can have a balance if that's what you're choosing to do. And so also consuming more than 300 milligrams of caffeine or about 2 to 4 cups of coffee could cause you to lose excess fluid. So if you notice, you might go, well, I'm drinking coffee and then I'm going pee every 2 hours, so I'm hydrated. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It's actually dehydrating you and pulling those minerals out of your cells. And so you're actually reducing the minerals in your body. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. That's the point that we're trying to make across here. We just want to help you all have some different tools for yourself and to share with your community as far as how to stay hydrated. And then for mild to moderate causes of dehydration, expect your body to feel better after a few hours. If you are dehydrated and then you're rehydrating, it takes up to 3 days to fully rehydrate your body. So, be patient with yourself. And like one of our speakers here shared earlier, you have to do it over time, and you have to, if you're going to the bathroom all the time, then that is a good sign. That is a sign that your body is working and that you're filtering, hopefully it's helping your kidneys filter and it's helping to detox any things that are not serving you, so that way you can absorb those minerals better into your body. So, like we all said, adding in that cocoa hydrate, the aloe digest. I love everything in the juice bar in a bag, but especially the cocoa hydrate, aloe digest, and can't beat this. So great for just replenishing and making the water have a tasty flavor. It's a great way to get the kids to stay hydrated. Keep in mind the can't beat this has some caffeine, so only give it to the kids that are old enough that you want to give them a small dose of caffeine. It is coffee bean fruit yerba mate for the caffeine, so it's not as acidic or as harmful as coffee itself and the dehydrating factors. And then of course, adding in those ionic elements and having super lights on hand so that you have those good, healthy salts that are helping to replenish your minerals is really important. And that's one of the main things that cause dehydration is the elimination of minerals, because so much of the sugary drinks that we drink, the caffeine or alcohol or different things that we have in our daily life are constantly depleting our minerals. And so it's really important that we constantly replenish every single day so that way we don't go through any of the symptoms of dehydration itself. So we do have a couple minutes for questions. If anybody has a question, you can raise your hand and we'll go ahead and let you ask a question of our presenters here today. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and go into our in the news section, our call to action, excuse me, with our next steps of what we'd like to share about. So Michelle, did you want to share about what you just posted in the chat real quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I do quite often, and now it's great because I don't have to capture it. I can actually see it in the bowl, but it took me about 10 months on this program to really get my kidneys filtering. And a simple at-home test would be to capture your first urine in the morning and cover it. It doesn't need to be tight. It could be a piece of paper, just something so the air, nothing from the air gets into it. Let it sit for 15 hours and then go back and look at it. Give it a swirl like a glass of wine and see if you see any sediment on the bottom or any cloudiness or any snowflakes inside of there. And if you don't, that could be a really great indicator that your kidneys aren't filtering. And so, lean into these nutrients that we've been talking about today. And also really just, if you ever feel dehydrated or constipated, that's another indicator of dehydration, right? Is that we're just packed and we're not filtering. And so, the remedy, the first thing to go to is, go get a watermelon and eat half of it and see what happens. You're going to go to the bathroom. You're going to feel better. If you do this several days in a row, your kidneys are going to start filtering and you're going to notice. But this isn't a quick at-home test that you can really start looking at. Now, if you do see some cloudiness, great. Still uptake your fruit intake and do some of these other things and see if you start to see more filtration. You should be able to see in the bowl snowflakes without having to even capture your urine. That's when you're really starting to move those toxins out and that your kidneys are really starting to get rid of that ash in the body that has turned into plaque inside your system. So yeah, thanks, Neighbor, for that invitation.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Michelle. I always appreciate you sharing. And so I don't see anybody's hands up, so we'll go ahead and go into our call to action for today. And
There was a question in the chat about can you use ionic elements if you're pregnant? And you absolutely can. I would highly recommend it as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chas.
People actually oil pull with our ionic elements mixed into their coconut oil. It can help remineralize teeth too. So it has a lot of applications and it's very safe for all of us. We need to remineralize as a society.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought in the watermelon because I love watermelon. I love all the melons. And I love to just eat melon until like noon. That's kind of my tip that I do on a daily basis. Is I try to eat melons from the time I wake up until noon, and then I'll start eating some other foods, which is something similar to what you shared as well, Michelle. So thanks for sharing that with all of us. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Carmela Velarde, and she's going to share with us our call to action.
Thanks, Neva. I'm going to reference this article that we had been talking about, and it is from Moms Across America with the appeal. And we are going to be working through this list from this article, which is talking about the new coding that is everywhere. It's everywhere, and we're questioning it here in the Million Mom Movement. And if you're here and you're wanting to lead more with activism, this is a topic that's very important to us. And on the 21st of this month, we're going to be hosting a lunch and learn where we're going to be dissecting what this appeal product is. But do you see right here, appeal is or will be available at the following grocers. So last week we went to Costco on their Instagram, and we want to have everyone take out their phones and go to Instagram. And we're going to ask you to search Trader Joe's. So besides Trader Joe's, which I was a little bit of alarmed that they agreed to carry this, but so does Whole Foods, Sprouts. I mean, it's Kroger's, Target. I mean, you're going to find it everywhere now. So here I am at Instagram, and it's this one that's 2.9 million followers. And I went to the post that had the cucumbers. So scroll down a little bit farther. And we're talking about hydration. And definitely when cucumbers are on the clean 15 list. So you're always going to want to source them organic. And if they have the appeal coating, then all the more they absorb. They absorb whatever's on the outside, including the pesticides and herbicides and appeal coating, which is considered an emulsifier. So what I had written to them here was, I appreciate your attention to sourcing organic produce that are especially locally sourced, and my family and I love to purchase from your stores. As a concerned mom and member of the Million Mom movement, I was particularly concerned that you were on the top of the list as a distributor that approved the new use of the appeal coating, even on organic produce. I spent hours trying to find out how these coatings are made and what is the process of extracting the mono and diglycerides from the grape seed. Did you know that appeal was exempt of pre-market approval or any kind of health effect studies of long-term use? Are you also aware that emulsifiers, which is the category that this coating is linked to, is connected to gut dysbiosis and digestive issues like Crohn's disease, which has studies? We hope that you look into these studies and consider the lack of studies for the well-being of your own customers. So if you want to copy and paste it, this can also be found in our Million Mom Movement official page on Facebook, in the call to action section, where we will be posting the replay of this particular, this Zoom. And please take a screenshot. Now, the activism we're asking for you to do is to start having people become more aware that appeal is everywhere and to question it, and screenshot your post. You can reply to mine so we can kind of layer our activism together, layer our voices, because as you can see, it is 12,000 likes, and I'm not sure how many comments at this point, but it would be nice to have it just in the reply so that the people can start to see that, you know, we're one solid community. And the more we act as one voice and the more we question what's really out there by looking at current issues that are toxic and it's directly affecting our food, we need to speak out. So I put the article here, Moms Across America. Please open it up in your device and just save it so you can share it with new people as well, and share it on your timeline even. Pass the word.
Thank you so much, Carmela. Really great information. And so yes, we encourage you to pull out your phones if you're not currently attending from your phone to this Zoom, and do that call to action. Go and reply to her on the comments to the Trader Joe's, and really, you know, show them that we're a large community and that we're many concerned citizens here that really would like to get some answers. So always, we're constantly bringing that up. Thank you so much. We're going to pass it over to Michelle, and Michelle's going to go ahead and share and close us out on our next week's topic.
Thanks, Naeva. If you don't mind pulling up the screen with all of our spots on it. And let me make sure I have our next week up here. Okay, so you guys, thank you so much for being part of our community. We could not do this without you. We are all the Million Mom movement, the movement of many, and it's such an honor to be here, but really we wouldn't be here without the rest of you, and our community is growing, and that's because of people like you. So help us by going and joining our Facebook page at the Million Mom Movement and the Million Mom Movement Official, where you will find the replay of this along with all the links in the comments. Definitely chime in there, ask your questions. We're always happy to help. You can follow us and like us on Instagram and on Twitter. And of course, we have a fantastic YouTube channel where all the replays always are. And you'll also find invitations to our next call in the Facebook group. So next week is Carmela on June 16th, and we're going to be supercharging men's health, celebrating Father's Day, men's health, and well-being. So reach back out to the person who invited you here if you're a guest, and if you're here as part of our field, we love and appreciate you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next call. Back to you, Naiva.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. And like she said, please join us. Also keep in mind that on the 21st, like Carmela said, we're going to have a whole lunch and learn all about the peel label. And so thank you all for joining us. Have an incredible weekend, and we will see you next week.